Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Daily Deuce. I'm Gary Graves from just outside lovely Louisville, Kentucky, and back home in Maryland, the old line state, the land of pleasant living, is my friend and colleague, John Webster. How are you doing?
Gary, I'm doing great, man. Doing great. Back here in Maryland, getting ready for the continuation of the high school basketball state tournament, getting ready for the conference tournaments, and getting ready next week for something called March Madness, the NCAA tournaments. I am excited, my friend. I am totally excited. But we'd be remiss if we didn't say hello to our producer and our traffic cop, John Pitt.
Pitt, how are you?
I'm doing good. What's going on, guys? I got an idea you just gave me. How about we do a Daily Deuce bracket challenge between the three of us? What do you say? For fun. It'll be for fun, of course.
Yeah, for fun. Not for competitive betting purposes.
And we would not be gambling. Would that be correct, John?
Correct.
And we wouldn't be doing parlays and all that?
No, just for fun. And we display the winner, the first place, second place, third place to our audience at the end.
That wouldn't be fun because I'm probably going to be in third place.
I'm a sports writer. I'll be in third place.
How
about this question, guys? Can I turn in more than one sheet?
No, absolutely not.
And don't wait a minute. What's that French bulldog's name of yours?
King.
Yeah, you should have him picked, man.
Don't turn one in for King.
So we have, there's a whole lot to discuss. A lot of breaking news today, and really a lot of developing storylines. Obviously, John, it's March and it's March Madness. We're going to get into the women's side of it in a minute, but on the men's side, as we enter championship week, which is one of the best weeks in sports, period. I mean, in college basketball, there is no better week. I watched Murray State and Morehead State Saturday night in the OVC final. That was a barn burner, as it has been. I had the pleasure of covering their previous meeting at Morehead, which Murray rallied, came from behind, and won. They were down 9 with like 4 minutes left, and then ended up winning. That was what it was. I mean, they've won 20 straight games, John. They're the hottest team. They're ranked 19th, but that's 18 spots below Gonzaga, which is number 1. And John, just like last year, the line starts behind them entering conference tournament play. I really would want to pick them, but right now I think we're just safe and trying to figure out who the number 1 seeds are going to be. So go.
Gary, you want me to go on that? You still have some conference tournaments still to go. I mean, Right now I would say Gonzaga, Kansas, Auburn. That team on Tobacco Road just lost their number 1 seed on Saturday against North Carolina.
I'm not convinced of that, John. I'm really not. Because you can redeem yourself. They can redeem themselves in Brooklyn this weekend, which I think they will. Because again, you're talking about okay, first of all, that was an awesome game.
From whose standpoint?
Well, I'm just saying, as pure. I'm going to say, as pure theater. That was an awesome game because all the cards lined up for Coach K to go out in a blaze of glory, and UNC just wasn't having it. The Tar Heels just they just spoiled the party. I can't use that one. Not going to use it. But anyway, they spoiled the party, and they did it pretty much going away, and I loved it. I mean, I just looking at the reactions of the Dookies, the fans, some of them hurled profanities, to put it lightly. like I said, it was just fun. I mean, you're talking about a storyline that you couldn't have predicted this at all. I'm a sports writer, and I was just thinking, oh yeah, all the celebrities are there, but Carolina just, hey, still us, still us.
Carolina, you give them all the credit in the world. They earned a good win. But I think also, Gary, that moment was too big for the Duke kids. And what I mean by that, if I'm coaching, and I mean this is really nice how they wanted to do for Coach K. It's really nice. I would not want to have anything to do with that before the game. You would have to have that for me after the game, because it's too much hoopla, it's too much fanfare, and you get away from the reason you're supposed to be there, to beat the Tar Heels. You're totally away from it. I mean, there are things happening in that game, like the beginning of the game, they weren't in the right run. They just looked a 2 or 3 steps behind. When they had a chance to blow Carolina out right before half, they were up by 9 with a chance to go up by 11 or 12, and ended up making a couple turnovers, and they went to the locker room only up by 2. And that was like this. You just didn't get to feel like Duke was in control, if you understand what I'm saying. It just wasn't that. And then in the second half, I mean, goodness gracious, the pick and roll, they couldn't defend the pick and roll. The kid, was his name Davis, I think his name is, from Carolina. He got anywhere he wanted to go on the court. And the guy, what's the center's name? Bobcat?
Bacot.
Okay. He had a field day down the paint, a total field day. And I heard Seth Greenberg say something today that I think is really, really true. Any team that's going to win always has a go-to player. When Baylor won it last year, they had a go-to player. Those are those guards. When Duke has won in the past, when Jason Williams was on the team, that was your go-to person. Or back when it was Grant Hill and Christian Laettner. And you knew where to give them the ball at. Who is the go-to person on this team? And where do you give them the ball at?
Yeah. I mean, that's a perfect summation. And that's the thing about Duke. That's the thing about this Duke team. It's predicated on freshmen, and this is the kind of moment. That was the kind of moment where they shrunk. They really wilted under the spotlight. Carolina's underclassmen, they had nothing to lose going in there. I mean, granted, it was another game, but it's like that was something that, they just puffed up their chest and they just felt like they had nothing to lose, and they played like they had nothing to lose. And I'm going to say this, if you have any doubts about Hubert Davis's potential or ability as coaching, I think he silenced a lot of people, if only for one game and something like that, because that was a game that, I'm telling you, made for TV, made for ESPN moment, and it just went the other way.
Yeah. And let me say this, as you get ready, before you move to the next topic. For Duke to move forward in this tournament, the key, in my opinion, will be Trevor Keels. They must let him run the show as a point, and he must be the leader and help get them to the next spot they need to get to and win a championship. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. All right. Moving up a level to the NBA. John, what in the world has happened to the Golden State Warriors? I mean, that was a team that I don't even think 2 weeks ago we were just talking about how strong they were, how they could be players and that kind of thing. And I don't think they've won since then. They might be like 2-7 or something. The last that I checked. I mean, and they got beat by a bad Lakers team. I mean, I'm serious. I think the Lakers are a bad team right now, and they got beat.
Well, it's 2-8. Last 10 games, they're 2-8. I'm going to say this, Gary, and I'm going to be totally in the minority. Yes, part of it is Draymond Green not being there, but you also want what I think. Even before Draymond Green went out, when Klay Thompson came back, I would not have started Klay Thompson.
Yeah,
I would have brought him off the bench because you had a good nucleus. I think the kid Jordan Poole was the one that was starting. They moved him back to the bench. Yeah. And I would have kept everything I had in place with Klay Thompson coming off the bench, because people can tell me whatever they want to tell me that this is Klay Thompson. You know, he should be starting. He should be okay. If you think he should be starting, he hadn't played basketball for 2 years. 2 years, and he's had some serious injuries, a torn Achilles and a torn ACL. Those are serious injuries. And I also think trying to plug him in is almost a force, in my opinion, to put him back in the starting lineup, because he hadn't played with these guys. I think it's easier for him to find the flow coming off the bench. And my goodness, Klay Thompson give you anywhere from 7 to 15 points off the bench. Oh my goodness, I'm happy with that. You let the kid Jordan Poole continue to start. Now Draymond Green hopefully is going to help. Draymond Green has a back injury. You know how back injuries are, Gary. They're all right one day, they aren't all right the next. They're saying he's coming back in 7 to 10 days, but they got problems, man. They got problems.
Yeah. Well, you know, John, I agreed with you then. I agree with you now. You know, they pulled the trigger on putting Klay back in the lineup, and it's all about chemistry. It's all about flow, and they really upset it. And I understand about, hey, let's get back to being the Splash Brothers and all that stuff. But that's something, you know, you're not trying that in December or January, you know, or this time of year. You start working toward it in January to get to be there in April and May and June. And I think they really just miscalculated on that one. You know, part of it, I'm sure, came from upstairs because of what you're paying Klay Thompson, that you're not going to have him coming off the bench when you're trying to get maybe the number 1 seed, or, you know, get a high seeding or something. But again, you got to look at the big picture. And now, you know, again, without Draymond, they're just not the same team. And again, they can get back there, but they really, I think it was just a fundamental gamble that just isn't paying off and bringing him back now.
This is a Golden State
putting
team.
Him back in the starting lineup now, rather.
This is a Golden State team that at Christmas Day was a game or maybe 2 behind Phoenix and beat them on Christmas Day, if you remember, Gary. Mm-hmm. Now you're looking at a Golden State team that is playing the Denver Nuggets tonight, and they're not really chasing Phoenix now. They're trying to stay out of 4th place because Memphis and Denver are that close to them.
Yeah. They got to get it together right, like quickly, because, you know, falling from that 2 spot to the 3rd spot might not seem like it's a bigger difference, but that gap starts to close, you know, between, what is that, you know, was it 3 and 6 and like, say, you know, 2 and 7 or something. And that's where you have to really start worrying, especially in a short series, in the first round. And again, and I might be speaking out of turn on this because I keep forgetting about these play-in games and that sort of thing. So we still don't know how the bottom part of that bracket looks right now. But, you know, at this point, you're only about a month away from the end of the season, and you do not want to lose any ground if you can. Now, speaking of which, and going the other way, gaining ground, those Boston Celtics. Let's see, they've won 4 in a row or 3 in a row. They've really looked good, and I think that's a team that could really make some noise if they keep it up. I think they finally have found their rhythm. They know who their point guard is, and they're playing well.
They're playing really well. I'm happy with the Celtics. You know, they were so far back, they're up to 5th place now. They're about a game behind the 4th place team. I can't remember who the 4th place team is right now, but they played a great game yesterday against Brooklyn.
Well, fourth place is the Chicago Bulls. Yeah.
So they're about a game or 2 behind the Chicago Bulls with a chance to catch them. I hope they do, because the 4th place team, at least you get 1 home series for the playoffs. So I'm hoping they can catch them. Things are working out for Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. One of the things I think the Celtics have done, they have bought into their coach's philosophy on defense. They have really buckled down on the defensive end. So I hope they continue. I mean, you couldn't tell yesterday because that was 126 to 120, but that's Brooklyn. But they've really improved their defensive game a great deal.
Yeah. There's wow. I mean, that's the funny thing about the NBA, especially this time of year, because that period right after the All-Star break, as they all, come down from their hangover of partying all weekend, wherever it is, and they have to start thinking about that stretch run. And the Celtics really have come out and just said, something, yeah, we had a little break. This is the time when we make a play. We don't wait until like maybe the last couple of weeks of the season. They're making their play now. And these last 6 weeks are really going to determine a lot. And they've just like kind of flipped that switch and found their rhythm. Now, of course, there could be another slump before the end of the year, but I think they, like you said, they have bought into the coach's philosophy. They're playing well, and again, that 4-5 slot, those matchups, like you said, having home court for having that one extra game can make all the difference in a first round series.
Yep, totally agree.
Yeah. So let's see what else we got. Yeah, there's a whole lot going on. Oh, NFL, I forgot. Yeah, tomorrow. Franchise tagging starts, and of course, I know it must be close because I'm hearing, the daily Aaron Rodgers update. And John, as you mentioned before the show, there's like all of these prospective deals that Rodgers appears to have made out, with several teams. I'm just going to say it right now. I'm not buying it. I mean, again, and I'm saying this as a Green Bay fan. I'm not buying it because I still think at the end of the day, he's going to be right back there on the center, wearing the green and gold. Because Aaron Rodgers does this almost every year, and some way, somehow, he finds a way to make it work, or they find a way to make it work for him. And I don't see anything really, really changing with this. I mean, he okay, I'm not a married guy, so I'm not even going to make that comparison, for a married guy like yourself. But there are just those moments, I'm guessing, John, in your marriage or in a marriage, when you just need a little, like a moment apart from each other, where you go into your man cave and retreat, for a while, and then you come out and you're more amenable to what the boss of the house says. Am I right?
Oh, Gary, I want to be with Kim every second of every day, man. I never will have to have a time away from her. I just want to be with her all the time, Gary. So
John, I hope you have good reflexes, because something's going to come flying at you for lying, man.
But I understand what you're saying.
Is she watching on a remote location?
Oh, probably so. But anyway.
And she's got a plan on you. Come on.
But I'll say this. I really think the Packers' plan was for Aaron Rodgers not to be back. I really believe that. And I really thought after they played San Francisco and they lost, that was his last game in Green Bay. Part of me still feels that way. But what is also tugging at me right now, the Packers have absolutely, positively no belief or confidence in Jordan Love to be the next quarterback. So the Packers are in a predicament, because you got to figure out how to pay Aaron Rodgers money to basically make him the highest paid quarterback ever in the NFL, highest paid player in the NFL ever. And then you have to figure out a way to get Davante Adams to stay. Now, the easiest thing would be you have to franchise tag him. All right, if you franchise tag him, you're basically, he has to be within, I guess, the top 5% of the league in the salary or whatever. That makes a player upset. They want to make the money they're supposed to make. So, but I will say this. If Green Bay is not able to sign Aaron Rodgers, I would seriously consider trying to put together a trade package for Davante Adams, simply because this kid is going to be playing, if not with Aaron Rodgers, he's going to be playing with Jordan Love. He is by no means going to have the same statistics with Jordan Love he had with Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry. It's not going to happen. So you got to figure that out. So if that comes about, now you got to figure out, if I were them, figure out where you can move Aaron Rodgers and him and Devontae Adams at the same time. I still say if Aaron Rodgers is not here, if he is not in Green Bay, where he is going to end up, where he wants to end up is Denver. I still say that. So the question is, can you get him to Denver, and can Denver still sign Devontae Adams too? Because they don't have a wideout. Nobody has a wideout as good as Devontae Adams, and that's going to really help Aaron Rodgers. So the Packers have a lot to think about the next 24 hours, because at 4:00 tomorrow, franchise tag season starts. So they have a lot to figure out and how they're going to make it work. And like I said, what they see now, Jordan Love is not ready to be the starting quarterback in Green Bay by no stretch of the imagination.
No. And I think Rodgers himself knows that, and I think that he can really use that. That gives him leverage in a sense, a lot of leverage. I mean, look, even if Jordan Love was ready, Aaron Rodgers still holds the cards in a lot of ways, and he knows that. And I don't blame him for all of his other faults, for playing that card as much as he can. I mean, forget about the fact, he's won just one Super Bowl. To put yourself almost every year of his career in that position where you're within a game or two of the Super Bowl, a lot of teams will take that. But again, Rodgers, okay, he's a drama queen, and a drama queen, he's probably going to get what he wants, and in the end, it's going to cost Green Bay down the road, financially. But again, while that window is still open to possibly win another Super Bowl, I think you take it while you can, and then figure out the other stuff later, especially when you've got a great receiver at the same time.
Totally agree.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Let's see, what else do we have here? Okay, well, that's what we talked about Rodgers. We haven't even talked about Russell Wilson, but that's something we can talk about after the franchise tags go out. All right, John, the sad thing about sports right now is that we're not going to have baseball. We're not going to have baseball on time with games being wiped out already. I think we talked about that a little bit last week. I think that had broken the last time we taped, but I don't know. I don't really have any kind of timetable for when they can and will come back. Supposedly they're going to talk a lot this week, but again, because they are so far apart financially, I don't know how you resolve all those issues in a week, let alone, the couple of days that they've been, trying to devote to this. I mean, I just don't see it. If this season starts before May 1st, that might be, I think that's optimistic at best. We could be looking at a whole season shutdown because, again, the owners are digging in a lot more. They'll probably end up caving as they usually do, but they are digging in a lot deeper at the outset than I thought. I mean, think about it. This thing is like, we're going on 100 days with this, which I don't know if anybody really expected it to get to this point. And the owners just said, look, y'all think we can get it done or whatever if you want to, but, we're not changing our stance. We're not bending this time.
Well, I think it's an unfortunate situation. I don't see any end in sight. I've already started planning to go to minor league games at the Bowie Bay Sox and the Delmarva Shorebirds down in Salisbury. I'm making plans to go see that. This is baseball is doing itself a disservice on both sides. I think I've said to you before, Gary, having a strike in football, having a strike in the National Basketball Association, they have a market of fans who crave that sport, who are going to come back to that sport even if they are upset. Major League Baseball does not have a market like that. The last time they had a strike was in '94. It took them 2 years to get back to where they needed to get back to.
Yeah.
And then you still want to tear it down because you turned your head to the whole steroid home run thing. What do you do this time? What do you have as your rallying call this time to make sure you get people to come back? Baseball is not a sport that's being promoted in my opinion, in inner cities or urban areas. You're not getting a lot of these kids to play. And you're showing the games like the World Series and the playoffs, you're showing them on a weeknight at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. It's very late. You're trying to get kids to watch the game. You're trying to get kids to grow the sport. Most of them are asleep. And I just think you're shooting yourself in the foot. And I think I used the analogy last time. The owners want to shuffle the money around and the players want a bigger slice of the money. So that's going to be an argument that's not going to end anytime soon. They've already canceled the first 2 series of the season. That's 91 games. And I think more are to come. And I think that's going to be very unfortunate because, again, baseball is not a sport that I see a lot of promotion going to get these kids involved in it. I do not see it.
Yeah. I used to consider myself kind of a traditionalist when it came to baseball, where, one of the biggest selling points was that it had no time clock on it. But 9-inning games have gone way too long. As much as I love baseball, that a 3-hour baseball game, I'm telling you, that's a hard sit. That's a hard watch, much like the NFL, and that's something that they've got to address as well. But baseball has to speed up the pace of the game. They have to come up with something with these substitutions. And the main thing they have to do, they have to start making this game a little bit more affordable for people to come watch it. Now, the argument that compared to some of the other sports, that it's a better bargain because, of course, there are more games to be played and that kind of thing. But I look at it this way: last season, when the Nationals came to Cincinnati, 2 tickets, almost $100, not counting parking, not counting food and all those things. Think about, and this is, well, they were for lower deck seats, so I'm not going to really complain about that too much. But think about a family of 4, or let's just say let's say a family of 5. That's a lot of money, even for upper deck seats. At $50 a piece to be spending for tickets. They got to bring that one under control. But again, it's the quality of the game that they really have to think about, and speeding it up, really, keeping these batters from stepping out of the box after every pitch, a pitcher stepping off the mound, keep it moving, John, keep it moving. That's what they've got to do. Things like that. And that starts at the top. I am no fan of Rob Manfred, and you know why. And you know what that sore subject is with me. For those who don't know that are watching, it has to do with the Houston Astros, because I think he really botched the situation in terms of the whole cheating scandal. But he's got a bigger problem. He's got to keep the owners happy. He's got to try to make the players happy, which of course is not going to happen. And the players they got to look inward and say, okay, we want a bigger slice of the pie, but at whose expense? For the younger players who really need that kind of money. They're the ones that probably need this more than the guys at the top. And those guys at the top really have to bargain for them. At the same time, if you're Juan Soto and you turn down something like a 13-year, $350 million contract, I know you want to try to earn as much money as possible, but let's just say he gets $450 to $500 million in a couple of years. The Nationals can't do anything with that kind of money on one player. per year or over the long term. They really can. That's a bigger valuation than that's like almost a quarter evaluation of their franchise. And I don't think they want to do it. And I can't really blame them if they don't.
Well, Gary, we're going to see what's going to happen. These next couple of weeks, this next month is going to tell a lot to the story. So let's see what happens.
Yeah. But, here's my problem with baseball. And I think about the team up the road in Baltimore, that I want to see them competitive. There were years not too long ago, John, that they managed to be competitive, even as a quote unquote small market team. But now I think they're in danger of being left in the dust. When the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Dodgers, those are the teams that are always going to have the money to spend. The Nationals, which they're not a small TV market, but they're probably considered a small market compared to to a lot of other teams. But it's really those teams and everybody else. And I don't know if you can have that system, a competitive balance where it's those three teams and everybody else. Something's got to happen. It really does. But that's a story for another time. We got to wrap this up. And John, the next time, by this time, we should know who probably will be the number one seeds, and we can talk about what they're going to do. I look at it this way. I'm going to wrap up by saying I look at it as Auburn, Gonzaga, Baylor, and Duke.
Wow. So you just pushed Kansas to a 2 seed.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and again, yeah, that's where I see it right now. Again, I'm not a Duke fan. We have people at our church back home that are Duke fans. I don't understand that, just like I don't understand DC-born Dallas Cowboy fans, John Pitt, but that's another story. But again, at the end of the day, Duke is Duke. That's going to be it.
I'll just say this. Let's see how the chips fall this upcoming weekend. And then next week, when we get back together, I think we're going to have some things to talk about. It's going to be really interesting, everybody. Make sure you got your TVs tuned in to watch all these tournaments. Put a couple TVs together, or put a couple TVs in different rooms and run back and forth and watch the game. Or just put 2 or 3 TVs in your man cave. Whatever you do, still have a good time. Still have a lot of fun. Enjoy yourselves. We're going to talk to you next week. John Pitt, as always, thanks for everything. Thanks for being what you do to make sure this show goes right. Take care.
John, we couldn't get it done without you, man. Thanks.